So I'm going to give you a quick introduction to Hanna Kozlowska. I wonder if I pronounce that correctly. Hanna Kozlowska, who was a fixer at New York Times, a fellow at Foreign Policy, a digital writer at New York Times, an investigative reporter at Courts for 5 years, and now she's a freelancer writing for New York magazines The Cut, The New Republic, NBC, The Guardian, and more. I first met Hanna when she interviewed me for her landmark article for Vox, The Complete Guide to the Online Dating Industry in 2021. And here we are. Hanna, good to see you.
Hi. That was for Courts. Just a minor correction later.
Oh, right. I got it mixed up. Okay. There we go. We've got it on OPW. A wonderful article. That really was a landmark in your coverage. And I guess we hooked you because you're actually writing a book about the online dating industry now. And the history of it and the socialization of it. I remember you actually, on your blog, you had a note about the opening line that you used to pitch your book to agents. The book's called You App, by the way, everyone. And you said, we are living through a relationship revolution, and it's a much bigger deal than we've made it out to be. So why is that?
Yeah, so this was a while ago at this point. This was 2020. So this was pre the big dip, the big disappointment. And my sense, why I specifically said that we're, not noticing how big of a deal it is, because I felt like the media was covering in a way that was, oh, look at, this frivolous thing. There are these trends. There are these bad behaviors, or the, new flashy feature that an app has introduced. I felt like the majority of the coverage. I didn't feel like anyone was really taking a deeper look at this new system of courtship, which I really think it is and was. And so that's really kind of why I said that. I think this has changed since this big disappointment. I think there's a lot more of kind of a serious treatment of this phenomenon, so to speak. But that was kind of the basic reason. It's just it felt to be, like in the broader tech coverage too. Like this is just like a topic for the ladies magazines, right, so to speak, again. But again, I think that has changed a bit.
What have you seen? What's changed the most?
Well, in terms of the coverage, right? I mean, I think I don't know how many articles we can see of people saying, dating is in its flop era or whatever. That was a great piece. Not to disparage that piece. That was a good piece. But I feel like we're seeing one every week, right? Still. Yeah. I just don't know how much more you can say about that in terms of the coverage. I mean, but it's important to talk about, right? Because it touches the lives of so many people. And I genuinely think it's a big issue. But that's just in terms of the coverage. I don't know if that's like that interesting too.
So why is it, I wonder? I mean, Match and Bumble, the stock's down, the revenue's lackluster. What do you think is the root cause?
What is the cause? Very clear so many. I think there are many. I mean, I think of gamification that happened with the rise of Tinder as kind of candy, and people getting a bit high on the candy and now being sick of the candy. And I don't want to belabor the metaphor a little too much, but back then it was novelty. It was novelty for my generation. Now it's not a novelty anymore, right? And people are kind of sick of it, and it's hard to, but they're addicted, right? Like you are to sugar, because there's no other options out there. And now they're having to pay for it, right? So they're paying for something that's not particularly good for them for the most part, that they kind of hate. And I think that's causing a lot of frustration. And I think this is all for good reason, right? I think the apps, especially the major apps, have a lot to answer for.
And behavior change as well. I mean, it's really kind of changed the way people think about dating. Online dating. Yeah. I can't think about dating without thinking about online dating. Is that really the way people think about dating these days? Can you not think about dating without thinking about online dating? You've got to take the two are synonymous almost.
I think it's been a bit of a vicious cycle, right? It's been behaviors that the apps have taught people and taught us. I mean, I'm not excluding myself from it. They've especially when they were free and there was this novelty and there was the gaming, like, right? They've taught us certain behaviors and these behaviors suck, right? And now people are frustrated because of those behaviors, but they're also frustrated because of what the apps are doing and making them pay for this environment where things are not great, right? And Steve, I think is one of the like best thinkers on dating apps, and I've interviewed him multiple times now. But he's saying something important here that yeah, I think, we've gone the golden age is gone. Like I met my husband just in another room on OkCupid, where we had a lot more to work with. There was a lot more friction, and this has become kind of a fashionable word to use when it comes to tech coverage. But I really strongly feel like that's right. Like this diagnosis of like removing friction has caused a lot of issues.
Let's unpack this a bit. What kind of friction are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, even with AI now, right? And with having someone else be chatting something else be chatting for you and not. And listen, like I understand why people are using AI, especially men. I understand that it's helping with the decision fatigue, that it's helping with the numbers game, right? Of like sending out as many messages as you want. But generally, I think with anything that we do that involves human interaction, I think we need a little bit more of kind of a barrier to slow us down a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Like I think that's what leads to like real actual human interaction and valuable interaction.
I think that's what you just said, human interaction and valuable interaction. Isn't that absolutely key to what should unlock the future of online dating? Human interaction. I'm very concerned about AI, actually, I must say. I was like, AI is a great enabler, but it also is a very threatening to the dating industry, I think, because I think in our context, especially, people want to have real human interaction with real humans. And we run the risk, if we're not careful, of enabling AI to kind of reduce friction even further, even more. So it's like, there's been a couple of things which have been great concerns to me. It's like there was one article, which I'm going to mention a bit later, where the Bumble CEO, Whitney Wolf Herd, said, you saw that one. I mean, he basically said, there's a day when we could actually have your AI date another AI. It's like, no, 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 don't do that. There's also a lady, Kim Kaplan, who used to work at Plenty of Fish, and she spun up an app called Snack that initially had the my AI is going to date your AI. It's like, how does this play out?
Yeah. uh, I I don't know. I mean, Mark, this is something that you predicted, the first time we spoke, which was probably like 5 years ago at this point, right? Like you were saying, like there's going to be, real time, you're on a date and something's going to be telling you in real time what to do. And I think we're basically there, right? Like
Yeah.
not entirely with I think you were saying that it would be like a, Google Glass type thing or,
Yeah.
Meta or Ray-Ban,
Yeah.
but we're kind of almost there. But, I think there are plenty of good uses for it, especially on the back end, right? Trust and safety stuff
Yeah.
and better matches. Although as Steve likes to say, I think that, like finding the match is not the problem, and it hasn't been the problem for a long time. But in terms of that interaction and taking away that interaction, I'm just as concerned as you are, I think. And I read a quote, I can't remember whether it was on Reddit or it was some piece, but people were talking about using AI to help it like with responses, right? Because that's what a lot of people are using it for now. But that it takes away the going to a friend and asking, what are you gonna say? Like, what should I say to this person? And again, that's like taking away this like, dating is social, right? It's always been social, and it's just taking it further out of that and eliminating more and more human interaction of like, yeah, just talking to a friend of how do we approach the situation?
It's definitely going to get very freaky, isn't it? Have you seen Replica? Have you seen these kind
Mhm.
of, in some ways, they've got some utility in helping people become better daters, right? I mean, that's kind of what dating through curiosity does, but in a very human way with real humans and a real training program. But the AI aspect of that is, will it really compute with people? Will they really be willing to? Will it feel okay, you know, to use gobs of AI in our context? Or will people revolt, and will it result in a decline in numbers? Is a kind of look. You've gone deep on this. You've talked to lots of people in the industry. You've been successful in OkCupid. So what would you say? What's your gut reaction to that?
Well, I'm going to say that I am taking a backseat a little bit on in terms of talking to users about AI, because I feel like things are developing pretty quickly, and I still have a while for the book to be published. So that's going to be, like I'm talking to people. I haven't heard, if I'm not, gearing my conversation toward AI, I'm not necessarily hearing all that much. I think there's gonna be some generational differences. I think, Gen Z, who's getting used to, or even Gen Alpha, who's getting used to AI, generative AI especially, right? Much, much, much so than we are. There's gonna be more familiarity with it, maybe a little less of like an ick factor. But at the same time, I think there are plenty of them who will also be revolting, just like any other generation who sees this as strange, as like, nope, this is not what we want. This is the opposite of what we want.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think there's going to be a gender difference. That's what I'm kind of concerned about too. And I think this is something that we're already seeing. I think a lot more men are using
Yeah.
the AI features than women. And again, like I said before, like for good reason, like I understand why to a certain extent. I understand why the numbers game, sending out as many feelers as possible,
Yeah.
not knowing how to interact, right? But I think we're going to see more and more of the gender gap of like what women are getting and what people are and what men are putting out. It's going to keep widening if we go into this direction. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about your book. The book title is You Up. Why You Up?
Because it's a great title.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But what does it mean? I think I know what it means, but for folks in the audience that are not sure what it means, where do you title from?
Listen, I mean, is it it's the booty call text message. No, the book's not focused on sex, but I
Yeah.
thought like a friend was so quick when she said it.
Yeah.
It was my friend's idea. And I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, I just think it encompasses especially the golden era, right? Like the 2010s. And but you have equivalents of it. I've spent a lot of time now in the 19th century looking at matrimonial ads, because there's a lot of similar dynamics going on, and they had their own version of their UUP, right? Of their like very subtle newspaper communicating with, anonymously. So, it's a timeless thing to a certain extent, but it also portrays this golden era, I think, well. So that's
Yeah.
what I
So what companies do you think you'll focus on? Are there any companies that you'd like to go deeper on? Is there any particular focus that we can assist with, perhaps?
the book is a social history. So it
Yeah.
focuses on the users, right? I'm not, Dan Slater had a great book. Well, it's
Yeah.
been a while, right? Because it was
Yeah.
2013 when his book came out, and like focused, I think, I would say a lot more on kind of the machinations of the creation of the early companies.
Mhm.
And I'm really focusing on the users. But big guys are all going to be there. Smaller guys are going to be there too, because we're going to talk about niches. I'm talking about early days, but I can't, like I kind of can't enumerate to you what the companies there are going to be. But like I said, it does really focus on how are users experiencing it, and what is the broader societal role, as we spoke in our breakout room before,
And what timeline do we have for the book?
in terms of publishing.
What?
Well,
How long
I
can
kind
we
of saying this,
hold a copy?
it takes forever
Yeah.
in the publishing world. So my deadline is at the end of this year. We'll
Yeah.
see if I am able to, because it's a huge topic. It's just enormous. Like the hardest part of it is culling down what I'm going to actually write about. And so right now the tentative publishing date is February 2027. So please sign up for, if you go to my website, you can sign up for an email that you're going to get in 2 years, that you're able to, maybe a year and a half, to pre-order it. But it's going to be a bit, because the wheels of publishing turn slowly.
Well, let us know. It'd be great to have you through more LTRs if you'd like to kind of come through and see who you want to have a chat with, additional people in the industry. It'd be great to give you as broad a perspective as possible. And so you're very welcome to join us in an LTR. And let me know if you can if we collectively can introduce you to any additional people in the industry, or if there's a particular angle you'd like to go deeper on that we can help with.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us why Larry and Mimi captured your attention and what's special about their story?
So maybe let's drop the link to that story from the cut, because it is kind of, let me do that. I'm just put it in here because this is like a little preview
Yeah.
of the early research into computer dating. Actually, computer dating, finding out about computer dating was the genus of this book. I was just fascinated by the fact that there was this thing, and there were tens of thousands of people who used it in the 60s, and nobody really knows about it. Like every couple of years, there's an article that comes up, but when you talk to most people, they're like, they've never heard of computer dating. And I was really fascinated with the fact that, you filled out paper questionnaires, you sent them in to an office, and then a giant IBM computer would match you up. And they specifically, so there are a couple, just to kind of fill people in who don't know. They met when they were in college. She was at Smith and he was at Amherst when they were still separated by gender, and they used Operation Match, the most famous computer dating service. And they're still together.
Mhm.
They didn't exactly go on a date and stay together. It happened over several years, but they have a wonderful way of talking about their relationship and how they met. And what was very compelling to me is they spoke about filling out this questionnaire, which was all designed by, like, at first, by college sophomores. So there was nothing scientific about it, even as much as it claimed to be. And the way that they spoke about filling it out was very much the same as we think about filling out, you know, app profiles today, and as I did in OkCupid in 2015, because they were just obsessing over what the other person would think and how to fill it out. How do you portray yourself? And so, yeah, they're very, very charming couple.
Great. Can you? I wonder if yeah, we've got a question. Let's turn to our audience, and Benji, you've got a question. So Benji is the CEO of MapChat and says, so I've seen this come up in my research. Curious as to your thoughts about the political divide between men and women, at least here in the States, and where you see a path forward with that.
I don't think that's a question for online dating.
Mm.
I think that's a much broader question for political.
That had polarized our communities, People really didn't used to be quite so polarized around politics. Now it's showstopper criteria.
Yeah, and this is not just in the US, I'll tell you that, because I'm Polish, actually here right now, and I've spoken to people here, and that divide, that chasm is deep all over. I mean, how do I see a path forward? I have no idea. I think it's gonna keep getting worse, to be honest.
Love is the answer.
I don't actually think love between, people of two very different persuasions is that great of an idea these days. At least, I think the differences are so large that it's hard to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Crazy world we're in. Steve Dean has a question for us, for you. What do you think dating apps can do to help the 90% of mostly male users who get left behind by the algorithm with minimal matches and seeing mostly bots, AI scammers?
Yeah, like I said, I'm very sympathetic because, and Steve, like we've spoken about this too. I don't know what the big apps can do, to be honest. I mean, I generally think, and we've spoken about this too. I think for a lot of these people, the answer might be in smaller communities, right? I mean, even if they're online communities, because I think that's the way that we're going to meet people, whatever it is, even if it's in-person events and stuff. But
Yeah.
but but I don't know. I mean, I think there could be a lot more transparency in terms of the algorithm and matching. That's very hard to do, but perhaps that would help. I mean, trust and safety investments, right? Like especially the bots, AI scammer stuff. but women are seeing that too. So yeah, God, I don't have an answer to that. Really, sorry.
We got some tough questions here. Any more questions, folks? Can you give us any more questions? Let's have a look in the chat. Good, Tammy. Tammy, great book idea and title. Great topic today. Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. And Steve sent a photograph of some AI dating apps, which is interesting. Riz all over. Holy cow, how many Rizzes are there? Oh my God.
Yeah, they have like 7 million. I read recently they have 7 million. I mean, it's a good amount of users, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone I think someone answered, Steve, it's really bad out there for straight guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you even hope for this? What do you think this year is going to reveal?
this year.
Yes. Well, this is the year that you write the book, so you'll be going deeper than you've gone before. And
Oh, in terms of for me, I mean, what I'm, to be honest, I mean, what I'm seeing a lot of is parallels as I go back into the eras. Like I said, like I said already with computer dating, but also with matrimonial ads. I mean, a lot of these dynamics have always been there, right? In terms of people lying about what they look like, in terms of lying about everything else, in terms of being afraid to put themselves out there.
do they lie or do they fib?
So I people would always straight up lie. Come on. I lied. I say this in my piece even. Like both me and my husband said we were mellow,
Yeah.
like back in our OK Cupid questionnaire, and we're not. We're neurotic. Like so, I think yeah, I mean that was maybe a little bit of a fib because did I want to see myself as laid back? Yes, of
Right.
course. So
Yeah. It's almost like when people describe themselves in a profile, they're aspirational. This is how they want others to see them because that's how they want to see themselves. So it's like, is it a lie or is it a fib? Everybody does it, which makes it a bit rough to get the truth of it until you go see somebody, until you're actually in front of them, until you get a first feeling of chemistry. I don't know. I live in hope for this industry. I really do.
right, but with AI bots chatting for you, that's just kind of more lying,
Oh,
right? I mean, and
that's a
these
race at the bottom.
right. I mean, these stories I've heard, right, of people like showing up to a day and wanting to talk about something that they've ostensibly spoken on the app about, but then the person who ostensibly sent those texts has no idea what they're talking about, like,
My God.
and I wrote about filters a couple years ago, speaking to Eric Resnick, right, another one of your colleagues, and another giant issue, right, and what is that? I mean, is that fibbing? I don't know. Like maybe that's a little bit more. Who knows? But
Yeah. Lots of challenges. Hannah, we're really looking forward to your book. Please, as soon as you've got a link, I'd love to run it on OPW, and be good to do an interview around the time that you're launching as well, like January, just
that's
before
wonderful.
you launch it. So maybe we can, pump it up a bit.
I really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a real landmark book. You're taking a different perspective than what's been done before. So really looking forward to it. And thank you for making the time for as well.
Thank you. And listen, if anyone wants to connect on LinkedIn or like I said, sign up on my website for that news, like I'd be happy to connect.
The website's hannakozlowska.com.
Yeah, just me.
Did you put it in the chat?
Yeah, someone did. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Okay. It was a very nice newsletter. I'm on it too. Lovely. Yeah. It's good to follow your story and see how the book's coming along as well.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much, Hannah.